folks. Okay, so the season was already a write-off after the weekend, and it's now more certainly a write-off as we travel to St Mary's and get absolutely hammered 3-0. Almost 4, all coming from the first half. It was probably the poorest game we played all season, as you can tell. We only had one shot in the whole game, and that was in the first 5 minutes from Mads. First 5-10 minutes from Mads, when they didn't look threatening at all. But then as soon as that shot went off, that were it. Southampton just took the piss out of us. We didn't have a single corner. We're offside 3 times. We managed to get booked twice, one in the first 30 seconds. It was a horrendous game for us. A horrendous game for us. But at least the season's over, I guess, to an extent. We've still got to play the likes of Leicester yet, so never say never, but yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, no. As you can see, I can't really say anything else about that. It's poor. It's just very, very poor. Oof, yeah. But yeah, as the table stands, this is where it is. Don't be surprised if Cardiff manage to win the next 2 games and then we fall to 11th. Or even, we could. There's a potential we could finish fucking 13th. Actually, no, there's not. The highest we can finish is 12th. So, we've not exactly built upon last season at all, apart from getting closer when it comes to a running. But it's just when we went on that really bad spell and we picked up all those losses, that's exactly what's put us where we are now. Because if you look at the standings, we've played 43 games, we've lost 16 of those and won 18 of them. Same as Middlesbrough. But the difference is they score goals, we don't. So that's why it doesn't look as good, but it is what it is. You know, like I said, season's dead, so no use pondering. This was probably, like I said, the worst performance we've had all season, but Woodman a 6, not much he could do about any of the goals. He kept out Brooks brilliantly in the second half, with a great save, but that's literally all he did. Sorry, a 5, started aggressively, but it would have felt like he could have done better. Lindsay a 4, Adams found acres of space for the first goal, he got away with it for his second. Kept going into the end, but an off night. Hughes a 5, none of the defenders had a good night, moved to left wing back in the second half, but the game was done. Holmes a 4, taken off on 40 minutes after a tough time at right wing back. Up against dangerous Armstrong, had slid in Mads for an early chance but kicked the ball straight to Armstrong for Southampton's third. Playing out of position, of course. What more 5.5 winning the midfield battle was always going to be tough. He wasn't able to do that, but the centre back didn't disgrace himself out of position against top opposition. Millennia 5 went into the book for a wild challenge after a minute, which I personally didn't even think was a fucking yellow. But anyways, played a few passes and ran himself into the ground for an hour, and it was a tough test. Very tough test, but Millennia should not have been starting this game, but I understand that Brown wasn't able to start, so we had no choice. Brady a 6, one of the few to come out with some credit probably, intense in his work, used the ball better than most, operated on both wings over the course of the game. You know, leading by example with the captain's armband. Mads 5.5 ran the hard yards out of possession, so a shot saved early in the first. Overall, his impact on the game was minimal. As match 5 played, 79 minutes but share shadows. The plan was to use his power on the break, but it didn't really work. Reese a 5, feeding off for scraps up there and made way at half time with the game as good as done. He had seen a little of the ball but had one run at Southampton's defence. Cunningham 6.5, came on, did okay for his hour on the pitch. Arguably should have started, I agree. Keane 6.5, showed quick feet a few times, added some freshness. His link player was missed in the first half. Ledson a 6, on for the final 20, timed the strong slide challenge and got about, but the game was done. Brown 6, wasn't fit enough to start, nor was Ledson, but came on after 70 minutes to ensure the damage didn't worsen. Evans 5.5, introduced with 10 minutes to go as Reynolds looked to get more match minutes into his legs, and that's your lot. So yeah, there's literally nothing to shout about for anyone. I've not really heard anything about what Law said for this game, so if he says anything positive, I'm going to kick his face in. Okay, what Ryan Law said, it was a game of 2 halves for us. The game plan we set out to do was nowhere near the first half, the second was more like us. I know they had large parts of possession, the game was probably over at half time, but it was the second half. We came away from what we set out to do in the first. You can't give a team like them the chances or the goals. Yeah, no, I still don't agree with what he's saying instantly, because the second half wasn't us, it's just that they slowed down because the game was already dead. They had nothing to play for, but they kept us at bay incredibly well because our attacking was incredibly poor at the same time, so it wasn't exactly us at all. There were a couple of individual errors, but the first half performance was nowhere near the levels. In the second half, I knew they had to dig in because they were a fantastic team. We had to nullify their strengths to capitalise on their weaknesses, and I felt if we could get 2 strikers in the grass up against their 2 centre-halves because their 2 full-backs go inside and wingers stay high and wide. But not tracking runners, not retaining the ball at the top end of the pitch, giving them a free shot on the edge of the box. You can't be doing that against quality players. Second half, Rokesa shutting up shop, tries to counter, get in there off, and cause some problems from free kicks or corners. But we didn't really do that because we didn't get on the ball or get in there off enough. I didn't look for excuses to be all so the be all and end all is the first half has cost us. Well, we didn't stay in the game long enough to try and get a result. It's just having no squad as well. That's cost us. Brown has barely trained and is struggling with his calf. I am in dialogue with him all the time and he is struggling at the moment, but he's the captain, he's our leader, and he wants to be there for the players and get on the pitch. He's mindful and we are mindful of putting him out there for a long period of time. Lidson is the same. It needs to be, it needs more sometimes, and it just didn't want it to go for a 5. Came on and did a job. If Alan is fit, he plays every day of the week. We are in a dialogue situation at the moment, but there is not much riding on the games as such, barring the passion and everything like that, of course. We have a duty of care to players who are not 100% fit, and Alan Brown is not 100% fit at the minute, so we'll address Brown and Ledson after tonight, shut them down and wrap them up in cotton wool. We'll see what we got for Saturday, so in other words, they're not playing properly for the rest of the season. So I understand why you start Mawani as well and not take the risk with Brown, because obviously we don't want to fuck Brown up even more, and it's good for Mawani to get some minutes into his legs in senior football, especially now that the season is done. As Ryan's just said, then the season is fucked, so it doesn't really matter all that much, but oh well. Jack has done fantastic there for us, and young Noah, you are relying on an 18-year-old kid to go in and do your job, but I'm not afraid to put them in. Jack has been brilliant, but when you're coming up against Premier League players, they run off the back of you and they can hurt you. And I thought the two midfielders were fantastic in trying to cope with that, but it's not easy. And it has been that middle of the pitch. We've normally got enough in there to cope, but at the moment we haven't. And that's exactly why we need to make the right signings, because instead of us signing 6 strikers, which we never even use, why didn't we just go ahead and strengthen our midfield, because that is where we need to do the work. Yeah, don't get me wrong, Holmes is fantastic. Obviously Brown and McCann are consistently fantastic, but when they get injured like they are now, you can see where the weaknesses start to lie, especially with Miller as well. Because obviously now we're having to force our central midfielders onto the wing, and when opposite wingers are injured, we're having to force opposite wingers onto opposite sides of the pitch. You know, with Potts going out, we've had to play Brady and Miller in opposite positions to what they're comfortable playing. Brown's now injured, so he can't fill in the right, so Holmes has to fill in the right, which means we lose some strength in the attacking midfield. So it's good to have players that are versatile and they can play these different positions. Yes, I get that, and it's good that we are training them up to do this, but at the same time it's a compromise for us just not signing more players. I understand we can't do that based on financial fair play and budgets and whatnot, but there's a big task coming up in the summer transfer window, because we've got players going out of contract that we should desperately be tying down, such as Brown, and we've got players that we can quite easily let go and replace with someone in a position that we should be replacing them for. You know, because Miller's only going to go back to his home club unless they can, they decide to loan him out longer or allow us to buy, which I'm doubtful about, based on how the season's gone progressing. Obviously Miller's now getting like a game time for injury and whatnot. I don't even have a clue what's going on with Leighton Stewart. I believe he's on loan. Obviously Mads is our player, so that's fine. Holmes is our player, so is what more. We made a lot more permanent signings in the summer this time around than we did last time, so a lot of these players are our own players, but at the same time we do need that extra firepower, whether or not it's a lone striker at the start of the season to help us get going again, even though we already have good strikers. But if anything, I think we just need a better midfield. We need to focus on the midfield, especially that right wing back position, because Calvin Ramsey's gone back to Liverpool, of course. So yeah, the lack of players has absolutely cost us the season, and whether or not that's because of things we can do or not do or have control of, it is what it is. But yeah, moving on, what we were saying here, I thought the midfield was fantastic trying to cope with that, but it's not easy, especially it has been in the middle of the pitch. Normally got good enough in there to cope, but we haven't at the moment. Noah gave us legs and energy, of course. Jack sat there to protect with him. They all know we could have done better in the first half, but it's not for the lack of trying. It is for the lack of trying. Their body language were poor as fuck. It is lack of decision making and quality at times. That is most of our group. They tried. They just weren't good enough. Individual errors and turnovers are the type of things that cost you, and those mistakes we have made tonight. Oh, that was also a strange one. That Holmes got taken off before Mulweny, but let's see the reason why. Holmes made the tackle on the edge of the box and they were shouting for a red card. I just felt if he'd made one more challenge, it probably would have jeopardised us a bit. He had to apologise to me because he's a fantastic kid. I accept the apology. The performance wasn't good enough and we know that. For him to apologise, that is a man. He hasn't let us down. He's been brilliant for us. I don't think so, because when he got booked in the first 35 fucking seconds, if anything, I thought he were more of a liability than Holmes was. I didn't think the challenge Holmes made was inherently a red, to be honest with you. So I disagree with that take, but okay. Maybe it was a tough ask for him to go out there and do that job. He could have pushed up a bit more and Jordan could have come across potentially, but he is a Premier League quality striker and he can cause problems, so I forgive Dueno for that. Miliani scores and we put Ched on to try and get him up to speed. He's nowhere near up to speed because he's missed a lot of football. Getting him on, it was to ruffle a few feathers, protect the ball and get us up the pitch. We just need to try and get some minutes into him, which I don't think it's a wise idea to keep Ched on, if I'm being completely honest with you. Ched's been fantastic for us mentally, yes, and he's a good leader, and obviously last season he came out and he did the bits for us, but this season there's just been nothing there. I do believe his contract's out at the end of this season, if not it's the season after, but he's already training for his coaching badges, so I say we should just let him join the coaching team and see where he takes us, because as a player we can't get much more out of old Ched now, because he's nearly broke his neck for us, so I mean that quite literally. So you know, I know he wants to play football, but when you're that liable, especially when it comes to Ched, but I don't think it's worth the wage. But then again, if we put him on coaching, I don't know what that accounts for wage wise, and if it's going to impact the financial bill as much as it would as a player, but we'll find out. But anyways, cheers for listening in for this one. It's interesting to see all the thoughts on social media about this game and the one before it, and what we're going to do now going forward, because in Preston fashion we've probably just given up and the other game's going to be a complete write-off. We'll fall back down the table where we always belong, but we shouldn't be doing that. We should be giving it a go. But then again, we have no people we've got no players to have a go with properly, because everyone that we said is fine, the top players for us, and that's why we haven't made any signings, because of these players have now gone and got injured. We literally jinxed it in December when we said we don't need right wing backs, we don't need central midfielders, because guess what? We now have a lack of right wing backs and we have a lack of central midfielders at the latter stage of the season when it mattered the most, and it's potentially cost us a run at the playoffs. Granted, slim chances compared to the other teams, but we'll take what we can fucking get. So yeah, it's a royal shame, but it is what it is. So regroup, go again next season. Big summer in the hands of P. Riddy. We'll see what we can do. Thanks for listening in. We'll see when we talk about the QPR game after the weekend. And enjoy the show.